Welcome to the Enterprise Summit. This is an annual part of our main stage program where we talk with enterprise IT executives about their communications and collaboration environments and the strategic directions they're pointing to, they're plotting, for their organizations. We've got a great panel lined up here today, so I want to jump right in. To my far right is Robin Gareiss. She's my co-moderator. She is president and founder of Emeritus Research. And I'd like the panelists to go ahead and introduce themselves. Who are you? What's your title? And give us a little quick background on your UC and collaboration environments. Want to start with you, Dan?
Sure. Dan Metzger. I'm the manager for Unified Communications for Condé Nast Media. We have a mixed bag of Unified Communications from on-prem Cisco to 8x8 Cloud. We utilize Slack for chat and Zoom for video conferencing. We utilize some traditional telco with SIP providers and traditional PRIs. So looking forward to sharing what we've learned.
Yeah, my name's Harald Schirmer. I'm coming from Continental. You probably know that from tires, but our products are also autonomous driving, so quite future topics. Personally, I'm right now in HR, so I'm probably not the typical IT person you would see here on stage. I'm a cross mover, so I did IT in the past a little bit. I did project management and all different things. In the last 2.5 years, we migrated completely our whole stuff, about 150,000 people worldwide in 60 countries, to Office 365, full-blown, all features. And, well, that was a heck of a journey, and I'd love to talk about that and share something.
Excellent.
My name is Monica Gionet. I'm Director of Unified Communications at Hertz. We're a global rental car company. We're 100 years old. And we are in the middle of refreshing some technology at our field locations. We also have a very rich mixture of legacy and some new technologies that we're in the process of upgrading and trying to change the experience for our field and our corporate locations. So looking forward to talking about some of that today.
Hi, good morning. My name is Carrie Maddock. I'm a product director at Northwestern Mutual. If you're not familiar with our brand, we're a financial services company located domestically. Our main office is in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where we have about 7,000 in our main workforce. We also recently acquired a startup called LearnBest, and that office is located in New York City. We have distributed sales people across the domestic United States, and they are totaling around 25,000, I think, at the last count. So our unified communications spans both our workforce and our salespeople.
Great. Carlos?
Okay, good morning. My name is Carlos Cong. I have the privilege of leading an organization, Enterprise Technology Services at Paychex. Paychex is a 45-plus-year-old organization. We are domestic, plus we have presence in the European Union. We have over 16,000 employees. We have a Cisco Unified Communications environment, active between 2 geographical locations on premise. My responsibilities include unified communications, networking, collaboration, and a series of other technologies, including some data center components as well.
Good morning. I'm Casey Abel with Waste Management, a corporate engineer. I'm in charge of transforming how our 30,000 field users are communicating with each other. We are rolling out Fuse on our Samsung tablets to communicate with our dispatchers using Fuse on cell phones.
All right.
Take it away, Robin.
All right, I will kick off with the first question. Let me start by asking you all what kind of changes you're planning to your UC strategy over the next year or so. I think one of the key things we're hearing a lot already at Enterprise Connect this year is how organizations are integrating AI and analytics as one just point I'd like you to talk about. But what other changes are you making, other integrations you might be making with technologies? Just maybe give an overview there. Why don't we start right here?
So we are working to add in a video piece into our collaboration with our maintenance techs and our drivers, so we can help troubleshoot what's wrong with trucks when they're having issues. to save time on maintenance techs going out and bringing the wrong part. That's one of our big things for this year.
Yeah, I would say we're really focused on application integration. We have over 6,000 agents in our environment, and we service a wide variety of customers. Our service model is basically a la carte. You get to choose whether or not you have dedicated or group-based service. So we have omni-channel services enabled right now, and we do a lot of integrations with our sources of record so that we can present real-time information to our agents. That's really where our focus is, including getting more analytics across the customer journey.
Yep.
Yeah, I would say in our organization, we are going through a digital transformation. I don't think we're all aligned on exactly how that's defined. Let me know if you figure that out. But I think when I mentioned earlier, the way our organization is structured, so we have, if you think about a triangle with the customer or the people that buy our products at the top, and the workforce at the right side of the triangle, and then our salespeople on the left, we really feel that the mission of UC is to connect people to people and people to information. So today, the way that we have structured, we don't have that all defined very well, but we're making a lot of strides in that arena. We just rolled out a new service to our salespeople. It's a little bit unique because they are not employees, they're their own business people. So we can recommend technology and we can advise, but we can't mandate the technology that they use. But we are making connections, to Carlos's point, and integrating those worlds.
Hertz operates in 150 countries, and keeping all of our remote locations connected is a challenge. We have some aging technology, and over the last 18 months, we've been trying to refresh the network. We've been working with a managed services partner, IBM, who bring to us some excellent partners, one of them, Ribbon Communications, who's helping us move our voice to the cloud. We have about 9,000 locations globally, and in the US and Canada, about 3,000. We're roughly a third of the way through that network transformation, and that's been helping us to connect our field locations and speed up their transactions and increase the customer experience dramatically. In the coming year, we're looking at transforming our call center. Right now, we use a managed services partner, Dimension Data, and Cisco platform, which is on-prem, and we're looking to refresh that technology and move that into the cloud in the coming year. So that's on our horizon. We've also just tried to bring our entire global workforce onto the WebEx platform for conferencing. So that's a strategy that's still work in progress, and that's going very well.
So, Monica, just a quick clarification. All 9,000 locations are ultimately going to move to the cloud?
No, I don't believe that all 9,000 will, because there are some complications with the way some of those locations do business. Some of them are franchisees, and it's a very robust business model. So part of the challenge has been learning about what the different parts of the business are, how they do business, how they use the technology, how they want to use the technology. So that's you couldn't know that going in the beginning, right? It's something you have to do pulse checks as you go along, and fortunately, if you have the right partners, they help you do that, and the analytics is certainly that's where that becomes very important.
Okay.
Yeah, at Continental, we are really driving hard to become more and more progressive. So we started our tour, so to say, in 2011, when we asked our people, how do you want to communicate and collaborate in the future for really managing or getting the future business models done? And back then, people told us, well, at the moment, we feel there's a lot of push communication. Everything is pushed to us. And out of that, realizing that, we said, okay, how can we change that to more a pull communication? That whatever you need, you can pull whenever you need it. And to realize that, we started 2011 basically introducing enterprise social networking as one tool basis. And with that, we learned how to, engage networks, how to build reputation, how to connect people. And as mentioned in the last 2 years, we added to that networking culture, which we need for building a new business model for connected driving. I mean, autonomous driving is connected driving. So if you don't connect your people, how could your products be connected? And in the last 2 years, we now added all the different tools for like video conferencing, as you mentioned, and all the other things, which are on one side the known products which you install on your computer, but also the others which are, we call them new work style tools, because they have very fast update cycles. Microsoft calls them evergreen, so monthly updates. And with that, of course, we reach that our people come into a very different dynamic in terms of learning. So our focus really is on developing our people into the digital age so they can get the most out of it, but they are not overwhelmed by all those topics. So it's like working on the IT side to provide the best tools possible, and on the other side, of course, organizational development to build an organization, to build learning methods, change methods, communication methods, which perfectly fit in such a dynamic environment. And that's what we will continue in the next, well, probably years.
Okay.
At Condé Nast, we're looking to move more to the cloud. As I mentioned, we have a mixed bag. We're fully cloud-based with our video and chat now, and we're moving all of our telephony there to support what we feel is a culture change. You know, the collaboration piece is ultimately changing the culture of our company, the way that they communicate, the way that they work together. AI is a big piece of that, and having the right partners to do that is huge.
How can you elaborate a little bit on how AI is part of that?
Well, for example, with our IT budget shrinking today, and we're looking for technology to help us out there. You know, so automation was born from that, right? Shrinking budgets and do more with less, management expectations. So we're trying to take advantage of those AI and things, and helping the end user ultimately with cool tools, you know, in bots, things like that.
Yep.
Dan, I wanted to pick up on that thread of cultural change. When you think about that within your company, are you thinking specifically of the business users, your traditional business users, or also into the contact center, as well as into that sort of frontline workers? Because we're hearing so much more about the need to serve those folks with technology today as well.
Yeah, everywhere. So, you know, from AI into our contact center, you know, with agent bots. So, for example, you get Donald Trump calling in, right? And a bot pops up, hey, this is what his last 5 calls were, building a wall, right? So all this, your knowledge database pops up and says, here's everything that you need to deliver about building a wall. So yeah, taking it from contact center to end users, migrating from hard phones to soft phones, making it, you know, we hear about cutting the cord at home, right? We're cutting the cord at the office, giving the users what they're used to dealing with. You know, instead of answering that traditional desk phone, answering your calls on mobile, you know, mobile apps.
Are the rest of you finding similar yourself in such similar situations?
It's a little bit of a slow transition for us in terms of getting folks to adopt some of the new technologies that we're rolling out. So our journey kind of began a few years ago as we transitioned from traditional TDM, legacy PBXs over to unified communications, which is a big transition in itself. Then we started to consolidate all of our omni-channel services into a single UI for our agents. Then we started to move towards collaboration, which we're using Cisco WebEx Teams for now, right? So as we start to streamline the end user experience, it's really important that we take into account that we're changing somebody's workflow and workday, and our communication is so critical there. We have to make sure, so we take an approach of communities. So we've defined a series of communities within Paychex. We have folks that are solely dedicated to understanding what their goals and objectives are for the year for that line of business, what technologies that we're rolling out that'll help them achieve those goals and desired business outcomes. And then we kind of marry it all together and say, listen, you said you wanted to do X. This technology is going to help you get there. Here's how I'm going to help you be successful and then we can kind of communicate and make sure that we're socializing that appropriately. Because one of the challenges we had years ago when we first started to drive adoption of some of the new technologies was you simply roll it out and you think, oh, it's as easy as somebody being at home and they're going to pick something up and kind of, you know, it should be a no-brainer. But that's just not the case, right? The work environment is so much different than the home environment. And it just took us a while to kind of understand what the educational component was that we needed to wrap around that.
Okay.
Well, if I can add to that, because that's exactly where we have like really good experience in the way we treated that. So we migrated now for 7 months, 2,000 people every day. So that was a massive amount of people, and we took away their old email system, we took away their old phone conference system, everything. They basically work every day, and gave them a whole new environment, a whole new ecosystem. And we were quite sure that people will panic. That's why we created a kind of like an engagement campaign. Don't panic.
I need some of those towels, by the way.
Yeah, I do too.
So we drove expectation management from day one that there's something big is coming. And then we said, in connection to our values, which we very strongly live, we said, okay, let's respect our people. Let's respect the diversity of our people. We have people in Shanghai, in Singapore, in US, in Germany, in Poland, everywhere. And they're all somehow different, but they have all their similarities. Yeah. And we asked them, how do you want to learn? And typically what we do then is web-based training or something like that. And we got the feedback of about 20 different ways of learning. From just give me access to YouTube, to if I have a question, I will ask, to I want to have a guided training, to I want someone to show me, like the full scale for 150,000 people. And we said, if we really want to respect that, we have to do all of it with like 2 to 7 people. So we said, okay, how can we do all of this? Well, let's build networks. Networks of people who can drive that adoption change. So we built a network of 1,400 change agents. We built 350 so-called local evergreen teams, like cross-functional teams of HR, IT, communication, and the guides, so they can locally adopt the adoption journey. So how, when, what to communicate, and how to teach, and all those things, how to make people aware. We came up with a new role, it's called knowledge brokers. Because of evergreen, of the constant change in cloud and software as a service, you cannot just roll out learning, you have to continue a learning journey. So the knowledge brokers, it's 150 people, 140 around about, they have their dedicated tool, and they are browsing the web, they are connected on Twitter, they are LinkedIn and all those platforms to get what's out there, how are the tools connected. They bring it in, and they then promote it as knowledge brokers. They promote their knowledge either in a sort of a wiki, and they're hosting a user forum. And that user forum where people can ask questions and they will answer it, that is again connected to an AI bot, which helps other people to, well, scale the answers. And that very, very broad approach and very people-focused approach brought at the end a success rate of 71% of all people saying, well, I'm satisfied or very satisfied. An additional 20% being neutral about it. So it's almost 90% of the people, we really went through that migration. They are, I don't want to say happy, but they are very satisfied with what we did.
But you know, only about half of companies do what you're describing, and I just call it IT marketing. You know, it's basically we roll out all these services in IT, and then everyone expects IT to also be the marketing arm. Like, we don't ask marketing people to spin up a new IT service, yet we ask IT people to market the services. Right. And so I think that's why, you know, you do have a lot of problem with adoption in many organizations. You describe is what companies have to do, and a lot of them don't put forth that effort. They just don't have the budget or the expertise or the training or whatever it might be. And I love how you're rolling in AI with your training. That's really good.
Well, we call that joining forces.
Yeah.
I mean, HR, IT, communication, that's 3 very, very important functions. And if they start working together, I mean, really working together on eye level, that is something which really makes all the difference.
Yeah, I mean, that's really how you achieve your desired business outcomes, right? There has to be a fusion there. And I think that's where partners can start to recognize a little more that it's not only, we all have a tough job here in that we have to be your internal sales folks within our own organizations. You come to us with a product, we start to buy into your product, then we have to turn around and kind of sell our executives to go ahead and implement and invest in this technology, right? So our partners in Cisco and some other folks that we work with, they really do a good job of wrapping some resources around us to help with that educational component, because to your point, we don't have an army of trainers to go
Right.
out and do technical training, right? They're mainly focused on sales and marketing and those types of things to help drive revenue, not necessarily technology adoption.
But if they knew the technology adoption would help them drive revenue, they would probably be a lot more interested,
100%.
right? Yeah.
100%.
I think some. I think some of our partners do. They incorporate success managers who follow up and make sure that not only is the adoption rate well, but that what can we do next, and how can we help you? I think that's key. If you good partners make us successful.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
which is key. We found that there's some great technology that I've always seen just in IT. So marketing is a huge piece. But with some of the new applications, making it easy, build it easy, and they will come, and they do. We were very surprised on the adoption of the technology.
I wanted to ask, Harald, you have the unusual role of being in HR, formerly in IT, and you mentioned the importance of that sort of teamwork across the company. Are others of you finding yourselves now working with functional, operational units in your company that you haven't previously had to, be it HR, be it facilities, whatever it might be?
You can-
So over the last years that we've been rolling out our implementation, we've had to get more in touch working with legal, working with procurement, working with finance and accounts payable, which departments I've never talked to before. So as we try to get into adding auto recording for our calls, adding the legal dispatch, working with legal to get that all approved and what we need to do. And then working with finance to get invoices paid on new software that we're using. And
Yeah, we found moving to the cloud, UCAS, actually frees up time, gets us out of the business of bug fixing, upgrades, and for the first time in 20 years, I'm working with our Salesforce team, and providing them a better experience. So huge help.
Yeah, I just don't know how you can be successful without doing it these days.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to incorporate that in your overall strategic path, right? So when I go back to the fact that we've established these communities, and it's not just about identifying a line of business, it's about identifying the culture of that organization, the demographics, what have they been through, what is some of the history there, right? So that we can kind of use some of that psychology to help us influence.
Well, I guess all the organizations, they have so much power in terms of their people. And if people know what they know, and if they get the appreciation for what they can achieve, just imagine you could activate, let's say, just 1% of your staff and find those who are intrinsically motivated. And then give them a stage and give them the possibilities to really drive things. They will create a positive culture of change. They will seek for the advantages. I think the big difference, you mentioned it before, between private life and the business life. For many people in the private life, they do what they want to do. And in the company, after they decided once for a job, they do what they have to do. And if you change that, I don't want to say change that mindset, but finding those who want to do a good job, and there's many of them, if you find them and give them a stage, they kind of like infect the others. And they show what's possible. And then others want too.
You're making a great point, and I mean, once you take away the fear factor of it too,
Yeah.
don't panic. Once you take away that fear factor, it just becomes natural, right? Everybody wants to come in and do a good job. We have a group of very passionate individuals across, 16,000 employees. A company doesn't get the longevity that Paychex has if folks aren't passionate about their job and the service that they provide. And you just find that some of that fear, you just have to take some of that ambiguity and some of the greatness that comes with change and make them comfortable with it, right? So to your point, individualized training and communication is critical.
In terms of the panic, I mean, what we are in the business environment are very afraid of, at least that's what I experienced throughout the different nations, is that asking a question which might be seen as, okay, he doesn't have the competence to do that. And that's really, really strange. And that's why we put our whole adoption journey, to make it also a little bit more funny and easy to digest, to a movie script. So we said the Hitchhiker's Link to the Galaxy, and with 42 at the end, and we said, hey people, it's not about answers, it's about asking the right question. And that questioning mindset keeps you on a move, that keeps you becoming curious. And curiosity is the basis of learning. And learning, well, is the best answer to change. And that really worked out well, making people brave to ask questions.
That's great.
Carrie, if I can ask you a question. You earlier said something about digital transformation, that you are transforming, and sort of what's the definition of that is kind of anyone's guess. We've got a lot of definitions. What was sort of the trigger that made Northwestern Mutual say, we need to transform? I mean, what got that off the ground?
Right. So several, obviously. We have a long history. 165 years we've been in business as a company. And historically, we've had different business areas or units grow up independently in a siloed way, right? And we understand that the customer experience is huge. We knew that if we don't change, we will be disrupted. And I think the best place to attack a transformation is when you are in a very good position, when you're not in a position of fear or getting disrupted. So we felt, and our senior leadership felt, this was the right time to really look at how we go to market. We have not, I think, met customer expectations. Any of you that are customers in the audience, maybe raise your hands. We're working on it. Great. I think we've made a lot of strides recently, but we knew we would be displaced. People expect a certain level of service and the consumerization of IT. If you don't have the digital application or the mobile app, you're just not relevant. And our brand was becoming not relevant. So I think over the last 3 years, I think we've made a lot of mistakes. Even our senior leader admitted, we took some wrong turns, but I think it's okay. As you're navigating through that, I think it's good to test, learn, fail fast. And our key senior leaders, part of their performance development goals is now digital. All of our financial reps have a mantra to be digitally savvy, to come to you as a customer and work the way you want to work.
Monica, excuse me. Monica, what about you? You mentioned transformation a lot too. What are your experiences?
This is such a great conversation because I don't think you can underestimate the impact on the users. And
Yes.
if you don't know that going into it, you certainly know that when you get
First contact.
Yeah. So, and the one thing that you can't afford to do is have your users reject the technology. It used to be that technology was very much behind the scenes. There was a desk phone and a computer, and you made a phone call if something didn't work. But even at home today, technology is very much in your face. And, there are demographics who embrace that, and they very organically uptake it, and they use it, and they also become enablers. And there are technophobes, right? So there's two ends of the spectrum, and then there's some of us in the middle. And you really do have to evaluate that and have a plan for it. And, we've come to find 12 months into our SD-WAN rollout that there are side effects happening that we couldn't have known in the beginning. So you also have to build into your plan some reevaluation and some tolerance for going back and changing course a little bit, And it does involve speaking with everyone in the organization, all the different parts of your company, procurement, legal, communications. And you can't afford in IT anymore to just be IT. You can't just afford to be a technical expert anymore. You have to know how to leverage cross-functionally.
That's right.
I mean, if you don't know that skill, you will figure out how to build that skill as you conduct something like this. So it's a very, very relevant topic.
Yeah, I think the first rollout where you didn't hit the mark, definitely you have to have everybody at the table collaborating, or it's not going to work. It's not going to be adopted. To your point.
Yeah, and again, that's where your partnerships. If you pick the strong partners, and if you're lucky enough, you do. They are the people who are out there on the front lines actually dealing with the users. I'm very much behind the scenes, and our partners are between us and the actual users. So they're a natural extension of the IT department. And, in many cases, our users think that our partners are part of Hertz IT. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they integrate themselves, so well. When we were moving our voice to the cloud, we have users calling me asking for the partners, can you look in the directory for this person's name, and they don't really work for Hertz, but that's a wonderful thing that they can scale and that they can deal with your users just as well as you do. And then they come back and provide feedback to you. I think you should change the way you're doing things because here's what I'm finding based on what I'm learning from your users. I mean, that's a good partner.
Yeah, even prior, right? I was talking last night. We have a partner that travels all over the world and sees what other companies are doing, what works and what doesn't work, and that you can take from that what will work with inside your corporation and build on it. So partners are key to a successful rollout.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Can I shift a little bit to architecture for a moment? You would think for a number of years that moving to the cloud was just a foregone conclusion. Everyone's going to be in the cloud 100%. Our research is showing that certainly there is, plenty of movement to the cloud, but for the most part, organizations today, the biggest chunk anyway, are hybrid. It's almost a third, and a third on-prem, hybrid, and cloud, but a little bit more heavily weighted to hybrid. And I know you guys were talking a little bit about that in the introductions of how maybe you're not going all the way to hybrid, Monica, but or I'm sorry, all the way to full cloud. So I just wanted to hear some of your thoughts. I mean, are you all planning to go fully cloud? Do you think you'll all be hybrid? All right, show of hands. Who's going to be hybrid ultimately? Will that be the ultimate?
We are hybrid.
Yeah.
All cloud?
Full cloud.
Full cloud? Anyone all
We're all
prem?
in.
Direction. Yeah.
Okay, so any thoughts on that as to what's driving those decisions?
Well, I'll take a first shot. I mean, for us, it's cloud where it makes sense, right? So I'm in a very unique position in that I have everything from the desktops and virtual environments to Office 365 to the network and data center and a bunch of different technology underneath my stack. And there's areas like Office 365 where it makes sense to be in the cloud and not have an Exchange environment. But for a customer-facing application like unified communications and the environment that we have with over 6,000 agents and millions of emails and calls and everything else, not saying that we would never go to the cloud for that for us, but I think from a maturity perspective and just being able to have more controls and some of the visibility that we have today, it's just not there for us yet.
Okay. Anyone else? Thoughts on this?
For us, we're a digital company, so media from print to digital. So if we need to keep up with the pace of our business drivers, right? So if we're pushing to our customers that Condé Nast has over 19 brands, we need to support that. Integrations from on-prem to those digital, we run into issues there. So that's one of the main drivers for us
integration
to the cloud. Yeah, integrations are key, and then integrations between the solutions are key. I mentioned earlier we're using Slack for chat, but 8x8 provides the same room technology to bridge that gap. And it also provides a little bit of a redundancy there built in. So if something's down, we can utilize one that's not. So it was a surprising find for us.
Okay.
So, Dan, you mentioned Slack. I know, Carlos, you mentioned WebEx Teams earlier. Wanted to be sure we touched on team messaging collaboration today because I was looking over our session attendance numbers from yesterday, and the team collaboration sessions those rooms were crowded. So, where is team messaging and collaboration fitting into your strategies?
I'll take that one. So we have, I think I was at the session you mentioned, Beth, yesterday. So we've had a proliferation of different solutions pop up, right? I think the term already used was tribal fires. So our engineers love working in Slack. I think they find that highly valuable, and it's real-time communications. But I have some business partners in the audience. Looking at a tool like that and how that works and the things that they need may not make sense. So we've got, other Microsoft solutions in place. We have Skype for Business. We're looking at Teams. We have some Teams pilots going. So, I think in talking with my team, we've found that it's not going to be one size fits all. I think those different business needs dictate, and that's where the integration becomes essential. That when those worlds need to talk, make sure in the unified communication space that we've set it up so that they can talk when they need to effectively.
Yep. Yep.
I think for us, you know, to your point about tribal fires, we've had over the years a series of kind of individual communities that are standing up Slack and HipChat and Microsoft Teams and a variety of these collaboration tools. So we decided to go down the strategic path of unifying everything for that single consistent experience. When you think about collaboration and messaging, you also got to consider meetings and productivity. So what we've found is that through studies, we took about 6 to 7 months worth of time to really look at who's going to meet all the needs that we have from, we do a lot of meetings, we're an agile shop, right? So we need collaborative boards, we need real-time messaging, we want to make sure we're leveraging existing investments like unified communications through Cisco. So Teams just made the most sense for us, WebEx Teams did. And we are going to standardize. So that's another cultural change for us in that the guys that are holding on to some of the other tools, we have to show them some of the benefits of standardization, because right now it's pretty broken in that there's some folks that are using Skype for business. We still have an on-premise solution there. There's Slack, there's HipChat, like I said, and you start to get some of that disparity and frustration in that I can't communicate with you the same way I communicate with you. That's a problem.
Are you standardizing on a single solution because you don't think you can rely on vendors to create the ability to support multiple?
I think workstream applications in general are going to have, they're all coming out with native APIs and hooks and ways for us to communicate between platforms. But I mean, to be honest with you, from an administration perspective and investment standpoint, and plus protection of data, which is really important for us, we have to go with a single solution. There's no way that I can, in a responsible way, in my role, say, hey, I know where all my data is sitting if I have 6 different platforms that folks are able to store content on, right? So there's a security component there in that we have to protect our assets. You know, we traverse over $1 trillion across the wire every single year as a payroll provider, right? So there's a lot of risk there. And we have to weigh that in as we're looking at different technologies and platforms.
Okay.
I guess that's kind of like the challenge. Our people are diverse, our customers are diverse, the products we are doing is diverse. So if you would now focus on that one size fits all, I guess that will definitely be the wrong way. On one side, yes, you need standardization, you need a fluent workflow from a corporate perspective. But on the other side, if you look into different new business models, you have to be very close to the customer. And if the customer demands you are not allowed to put our documents in the cloud, you cannot say, okay, then the whole company doesn't do it. So you have to have a good balance in terms of making it available for the majority of the people. But if there is a special use case, if there's a special demand, you have to have an answer for that as well.
Yeah.
That's right. And we do. I mean, look, we have, our strategy is while we're standardizing, right, there is going to be those corner cases where folks are absolutely going to have to use a different cloud storage platform than OneDrive, or they're going to have to use Teams for a specific integration that Microsoft has made available for a specific community within our organization. So we're not going to say no, right? We have to your point, make sure that we're supporting and enabling our business. This is more about making sure that we're making the right investment in protecting the data.
I think we have time for one last very quick question. So kind of top of mind, why don't we run down the line, and what's top of your wish list going forward?
Like I said, the top of wish list is to get to a cloud so that we can focus more on business needs. Do more with less is our management driven, and provide more value to our business from an IT perspective.
Harold, real quick.
Well, I try to create a future which is really desired to be in. And my dream in terms of a rollout of a migration with our networks is really to not have a one-size-fits-all top-down project rollout, but a movement where everyone says, well, this makes so much sense, and I do everything to make that happen.
Monica?
For me, that would be to create the excitement for the change so that we have a higher uptake rate and people embrace it.
Great. Carrie?
Yeah, for me, it would be simplify. I think over the years, we have so many options that our customers are getting frustrated. So the more we can simplify and make it easy, I think the better off we'll be.
Yeah, for me, it's continuing to simplify, and I'm really looking forward to cognitive collaboration coming out.
Casey, why don't you wrap us up?
For me, it would be completing our rollout to get everyone on it and enjoy it and improve the user experience for everyone.
Okay, great. Well, panelists, I think you shared some wonderful perspective. Really appreciate it. Audience, how about we give them a round of applause?